You two people, fresh off an Ohio State over Michigan victory in the snow, a wonderful week of Thanksgiving. We are back for the weekly sports card market update. Hope everyone out there had a great Thanksgiving. It has been a relatively quiet week in the collectible space. Still kind of sifting through the fallout of the snipe disaster, the return to eBay, the shill bidding nonsense that seems to be rife across the collectibles industry, both in sports cards and most likely if it's happening in sports cards, it's happening everywhere else. But outside of the ripple effects of that, we actually went relatively quiet for the week of Thanksgiving. Got a few things to get caught up on. And then we'll look at some market movers, charts, and graphs in the back half of the video. But it was kind of refreshing to get back to a normal week after the craziness that we had seen for the previous 2 to 3. And I'm sure the hobby drama dial will get turned up very quickly. Once again, it kind of goes in cycles like this, and we were on a little bit of a heater. See if things keep nice and quiet or if things get back to crazy quickly. First up, shout out to channel partner COMC.com, sponsor of the weekly sports card market update. You still have, depending on when you're watching this on Sunday and Monday, you still have time to take advantage of the Black Friday and Cyber Monday deals that they have been running out. They have even expanded some things. I'm going to pull up this Instagram post here. If you buy or sell over certain thresholds, you get entries into some additional store credit contests that they have going on. I actually have sold a decent chunk. I don't know if I've sold enough to reach any of the thresholds because I don't have a lot of high dollar stuff for sale on there, but I ran a little 25% off sale on the COMC website through the Black Friday promotions, and I did a little buying as well. Picked up a really cool vintage Magic the Gathering card that I'll probably have shipped home actually to add to the collection. So we'll probably see that on a video here in a few weeks. I'm waiting for a few other things to ship a couple of cards home at once. But that should put me over a couple of the thresholds here to get some entries into their top buyer and seller bonus opportunities. So if you haven't had a chance to go do some Black Friday shopping over at comc.com, you still have time to head over there and check it out. First up, boy, oh boy, it seems like it's really far away, but tickets go on sale tomorrow, December 1st, for the National. It seems crazy to think about the National as we are between Thanksgiving and Christmas in the middle of the holiday season, and we are already looking ahead to 3/4 of the way through 2026. National back in Chicago once again. A fantastic location for it. I have my issues with the building here and there, and I have some minor issues overall with the National in Chicago, but those drastically outweigh the pros of that location. So if you've been thinking about going to the National, their tickets go on sale this week, so file that one away. Listen, regular tickets you're probably fine on. If you're looking for any of the VIP or multi-day packages or things like that, those are the ones that typically sell out early. I haven't dug in to look to see what the VIP offers this year. It's usually you get your most bang for the buck on that if you're doing autograph stuff. But we'll see if they roll some more stuff out this year for it. But tickets do go on sale this week, so some reminders on that one. Second story I had flagged. I haven't seen a ton of people talk about this. This was shared by Mealy Pops, the card store down in Florida, I believe. They did a little thing with Andy over at CGC, and CGC has announced that they are rolling out larger size slabs, specifically for tall boys and some other vintage cards And I know that that is something people have been asking for, and it's interesting to see them kind of lean into that vintage space a little bit, given what we've been seeing going on with SGC. It seems like CGC might be trying to step up and sneak into a little bit of that business. Andy, very respected grader, knows his vintage stuff. What had been limiting them is the holder on what they could and couldn't grade, and this is going to open that up for them a little bit. And, you know, listen, go float around some SGC social media groups, whether on Facebook or on Blowout. The narrative around SGC since it became boutique has not been fantastic. A lot of people complaining about extended turnaround times now. I am seeing more and more complaints about the grades coming back from SGC now, and that is not something you would typically have seen in the past. And this is on a lot of vintage cards as well that you're seeing these complaints on. And once again, that is something you never really heard of before. Now, maybe it's legitimate. Maybe it's people are almost being biased because of the perceptions that things are drastically changing down there. So they're being hypercritical. I don't know. But I just know the chatter from even the SGC loyalists the last month or so has not been fantastic. So there is definitely a window open there for someone to step in and fill that void for the I don't want to use PSA folks. So we'll see where this goes with CGC kind of sneaking into this vintage space a little bit more. I mean, they've obviously graded vintage since they've been opened up, but like I said, they were a little restricted by some of the sizing. So this seems to be them making a little bit more of an effort to get into that space. We'll see how that plays out. Topps, some Topps news. Topps Target exclusive Black Friday blasters went on sale on Friday, and it seems that either these aren't that popular or they printed a ton of them or a little bit of both. I believe stores did have limits on these, so that could be playing a little bit of factor as well. But I saw reports end of the day Friday, and I even saw some stuff this morning that stores still had these readily available if you basically just walked in. Plenty of people were posting on social late Friday afternoon, early Friday evening of them walking in the Target and just grabbing two or whatever the limit was off the shelf. And the resale market doesn't really seem to be super strong. I mean, this one here is sitting at $54 with no one purchasing it, $5 delivery, $55 there, $55 there with free delivery. So by the time, once again, whenever you're flipping stuff on eBay like this, when you factor in the free delivery, when you factor in the 15%, I'm sure they're probably still making a little bit of profit. I think these were $29.99. Someone could correct me if I'm wrong, but there does not seem to be a lot of demand there, as there are a boatload of these listed. Now, maybe they dry up, maybe they don't. We'll see. But the overall popularity of these doesn't seem quite as strong as people thought they were going to be. It is Topps paper, so do factor that in. Staying on the Topps bandwagon for a minute, we have got our first batches of PSA 10 Cooper Flaggs hitting the market. I'm going to flip this over to sold listings. This is the good one right here. $510. Now let's look at the bid history. Let's see if anything. We got some zeros here. Some zero bidders going on. This 7 ***9 seems to be doing a little bit of nonsense on this one. Had never bidded with that person before, so that's a decent sign. Bid activity with the seller 0%. Okay, but these multiple zeros here don't make this look good jumping this up. Regardless, listen, folks, we know that this price is nonsense and this is not going to hold. Do not fall into this trap. For the love of God, please do not buy a Cooper Flagg base Topps flagship PSA 10 for about 6 months to a year. This will probably be, even if he has a really good rookie season, this will most likely be a $50 to $75 card in the best cases of scenarios. In the best cases of scenarios, this will be a $50 to $75 card. The more realistic scenario is this is like a $30 or $35 card, if you're lucky. That still means he had a pretty decent season. This could easily be a $10 to $15 card if he falls on his face. Now, I don't think he's going to fall on his face. He looks pretty decent so far this year. But you get the point here. This is nonsense numbers, and I would love to know what these folks paid to get these graded this quickly. Because as we know, PSA turnaround times are not great. So, like how many of these did they have to send in at God knows what price point to hopefully get to market first and hope that it doesn't get, bid up and a non-payer on it to actually complete this sale before the bottom falls out. Because we know the bottom is going to fall out. Remember the Mac Jones PSA 10 incident? Now, listen, some of the parallels and stuff, a little bit of a different story. Here's actually a pretty big sale here on this one this one's from a couple of weeks ago. But the Mojo in the PSA 10 going for $5,200. Decent bid history on that one at a quick glance. So you're seeing these, and then if we flip over to the unsold ones, we do have this one ending shortly. As of time of recording, this is going to end later tonight already at $600. Just don't fall into this trap, guys. Don't do it. Don't do it. I don't know how many times I could say it. But generally speaking, never be the first to buy this stuff graded when it hits the market, unless it's something extremely rare and you really, really want it for your collection. Odds are you're going to be able to get this stuff a lot cheaper. Even if you're the biggest Dallas Mavericks fan in the world, just wait, just be a little patient. I would say 95% of the time, if you just be a little patient when it comes to chasing stuff, it's going to pay off in your favor. Just a little bit of patience. Yes, there's going to be some exceptions where it goes the opposite direction. Ohtani, Judge, just to show two recent examples. But generally speaking, especially for new release product, just let the market play itself out and then swoop in is typically the best way to do it, because this right here is absolute insanity. Even this blue, great looking color match, good looking card, numbered to 150. You're probably going to be able to get this a lot cheaper if you just sit back and wait and let it play itself out. Don't succumb to FOMO. Don't do it. Speaking of Topps, staying on that bandwagon, Topps Chrome Basketball delayed only about 2 weeks, according to emails that folks that pre-ordered have got. So not a huge delay there. I did also see, and I don't have the slide pulled up here, where some Topps Chrome cards ended up in MLB Pro Debut packs. So some people got a little bit of a preview of that. I don't think that has anything to do with the delay. Maybe it's just logistical issues. I have no idea. But it's only a 2-week pushback according to the email that I saw. So it's not anything significant. I didn't have any of it pre-ordered, so it is what it is. But box prices, while still strong, we're still sitting at about $1,000, have slipped ever so slightly. Not a ton, maybe 5 to 10%, but they have seemed to settle in right around $1,000 price point. And we'll see what happens when the product actually releases. And we're going to get another wave of boxes. Typically, the way that it works, for those that don't realize, maybe you don't follow Topps baseball releases, they did the pre-order of Topps Chrome 2 weeks ago. Usually the week of release, they will do another sale of the product. Typically, it's a little bit more, not a ton more. If I had to guess, jumbos maybe for 750 instead of 700, and maybe hobby boxes for an even 400 instead of 379 or whatever they were. And that's a blind guess on my part, but that's usually what we see. It'll re-release on release week for a slight increase over what the pre-order price was for. And what I'm interested to keep my eye on is what happens to these prices when that supply releases to the market. Because then at the same time, all the shops are going to get theirs. Once people start tearing into it, does hype and FOMO drive it back up again? Or does the increased supply pull things back down again? Or is this just kind of where it's going to sit at around this $1,000 a box price point? And I do want to dive more into Topps Chrome. I'd like to do a little Chrome versus Prism comparison. I've been knocking that video idea around in my head. So maybe we'll talk about that. That's on my docket for this upcoming week here. But Topps Chrome basketball delayed slightly, and box prices pulling back ever so slightly as well. With that, let's switch over to market movers. Link in the description down below if you want to play around on your own charts and graphs. I didn't look at any charts and graphs last week because there was so much news to cover. So we'll do a quick little whip around on the three major sports here. Let's start with basketball, and let's start with Topps. I wanted to just kind of check in to see how the tiering was going on singles from Topps flagship. And what I used here is the gold out of 2025. Not the rarest hit in the world, obviously, so it transacts frequently enough, but it's still one that has some demand to it. So we kind of get to see a true breakdown of where the pricing tiers are in players. Cooper Flagg, clear, number one. Next, we have a grouping of Con Knipple and VJ Edgecombe. Right after that, we have Wemby, non-rookie, kind of in a tier by himself. And I'm not paying too close attention to the individual prices here. I'm looking more at how close they are grouped together. Like you can see, Cooper is way out in front. And then Knipple and Edgecombe are pretty close together. And then Wemby's kind of in a tier by himself. And then we drop down to Derek Queen, Ace Bailey, and I guess maybe their own mini tier. Maybe you can throw in Jeremiah Fears and LeBron's in with that as well. We have Steph Curry's there. And then it's kind of like a mismatch of a bunch of different folks. The one that surprised me a little bit was Dylan Harper being down this low. He has been hurt. He did just come back, I think, this week. So we'll see if he can edge his way back towards the top. But he was playing extremely well prior to his injury. Cedric Howard has had some moments. He is pretty far down here. And that's really been the main players so far of the rookie class. Ace Bailey has been coming on a lot lately. He started kind of slow. Jeremiah Fears and Derek Queen have been playing a lot better over the last week or two. Edgecombe has slowed down a little bit from his torrid start. Knipple has come on pretty well lately, and Cooper has been on an upswing since his slightly slower start than some of the other guys had. So we'll kind of keep an eye on this as we move throughout the season and see how this ebbs and flows. Eventually, in a few weeks here, we'll have Topps Chrome to replace this and probably have something to give us a better idea of where things currently sit. But that gives you a little bit of insight into the rookies in the Topps class. Looking at basketball kind of across the board, just doing a real quick check-in here of who's been moving and who hasn't been. Your players that have changed the most, this is going back 90 days. So this is right before, about a month before the season started. So the lead up to the season and the season starting. Silver Prisms, PSA 10s. The Giannis I'm going to throw out. One has not sold in a month and a half. So let's scroll down below that one. The rest of these have pretty recent sales. Joker up the most, not surprising. Dollar value wise, his is the most expensive. He is having an insane start to the season, even though Michael Hamm doesn't think he is. We have Wemby, who had a very strong start to the season, jumped his prices, and then he has been hurt, though he should be due back pretty soon. Cade Cunningham, absolutely insane start to the season. The Pistons look amazing. Luka up slightly. SGA. The Thunder are just a monster of a team to start the season. Just kind of scrolling through here, plucking out some names that stand out. Jalen Johnson, he just kicked the crap out of my Cavs on Friday night. He has had a monster start to the season. He is actually up a ton, 226% increase from $70 all the way up to $220. Tyrese Maxey's been on a tear. Jalen Duren, see what I said about Cade Cunningham, has been on a tear. AJ Mitchell, we talked about him a few weeks ago. His PSA 10s are now up to $135. That's a 335% increase. Wild times. Keontae George for the Jazz has been playing extremely well. Castle's been playing extremely well. A lot of guys really kind of breaking out from that younger core of players that were kind of flying under the radar. If we flip this around and look at the guys going down the most, of the guys that had some hype on them, Paolo Banchero, been hurt most of the season. Jared McCain coming back from injury. Zachary Richeche has been okay. The Hawks have actually been pretty okay, and he's been all right. I don't think he's gotten as much playing time as people hoped. Jason Tatum recovering from an Achilles injury. Jamal Murray, a little surprising, as he has actually played quite well this season. Devin Booker's been fine. That's a very small percentage change on him. Austin Reeves down slightly is a little surprising just because of how strong of a start he has had. Trae Young and LaMelo Ball both look like men out of place. The Hawks definitely look like they don't need Trae Young at all. LaMelo Ball once traded. He has had a very mediocre season, in my opinion, at least from an actual basketball standpoint. Ja Morant has had an absolutely turbulent season. And then we kind of wind down the list there. But a lot more guys seeing positive movement up than players seeing negative volume down in regards to price changes. So strong start to the NBA season for a lot of the players out there. Football, same thing. Going back 90 days, Drake May, the biggest winner, no surprise there, as the Patriots have been on a tear and could potentially be the number one seed in the AFC. Patrick Mahomes up slightly. I did not dig into those. That card is very frequently, shall we say, manipulated. So always buyer beware on Mahomes Silver Prisms. They might not make the playoffs, folks. I mean, it's going to be kind of close. Sam Darnold having a wonderful year for the Seahawks. Jonathan Taylor having a monster year for my fantasy team. Jackson Smith and Jigba having a monster season. See Sam Darnold. Justin Jefferson, I'm actually surprised he's up. JJ McCarthy looks like trash. More on him in a minute. But not a ton of guys going to the moon here. You start off real strong with Drake May and Darnold and a few others, but very quickly we're down to the $30, $40, $50 range in regards to price movements. And when we flip this around, Joe Burrow, the biggest decliner. Now we'll see where that ends up. He came back this week, looked pretty decent, knocking the rust off against the Ravens. The Ravens, yikes. I don't know what is going on with Lamar Jackson and them. No surprise on any of these. Jaden Daniels, disaster season. Penix, disaster season. JJ McCarthy, what's worse than a disaster season. Jalen Hurts, that Friday game. Justin Fields, yikes. Trevor Lawrence has been all over the place. CJ Stroud has been in concussion protocol most of the season. Brian Thomas Jr. murdering a couple of my fantasy teams. Jamar Chase has been a little up and down, mostly because Burrow's been out all year. Neighbors, ACL injury. Bryce Young, 1 week he looks really good, then 3 weeks in a row he looks really bad. Jordan Love, a little surprising. He's actually been pretty okay this year. But you get the point. A lot of this 2024 quarterback class, to me, is the major headline, with Daniels, Penix, McCarthy, to name a few, absolutely getting hammered in pricing. And last year, Daniels was the golden boy. This year, not so much. A couple more things I want to take a look at. Baseball. With baseball, I did this two different ways. First, I wanted to look at how some of the top prospect cards are performing for this upcoming season. We were kind of in a dead zone right now for baseball. The winter meetings are getting ready to kick off here shortly. The hot stove will get turned up a little bit. We'll see some player movement, and those players' prices will spike up. But for the most part, your established players, their stuff has been flat. We'll look at Ohtani here in a minute. His stuff really hasn't moved since the level up from the World Series. More on that in a second. But first, the kids. I looked at the top, basically 5 prospects in Major League Baseball. We have Connor Griffin, Kevin McGonigal, JJ Weatherholt, Leo DeVeers, and Jesus Bede. These are their PSA 10 first Bowman autos. And this is just over the last 30 days. They have all been creeping up slightly. And this is generally what we see. These kids that are going to get a lot of hype going into spring training slowly start creeping up throughout the winter between Thanksgiving and Christmas. And then they get a little heat on them. They ramp up heading into the spring. So all these guys are up ever so slightly. Outside of Bede, he is down slightly, but Connor Griffin up 17%, McGonigal up 18%, Weatherholt up about 10%. DeVeers basically staying flat, but we're starting to slowly see a little bit of creep up in at least a handful of prospects. We'll see if that plays itself out to some people deeper on the list, and also current MLB players. On the Ohtani front, I pulled up a handful of his popular cards. The Bowman base batting, the refractor in a PSA 10, the rookie debut chrome in a PSA 10, and then his Topps chrome base pitching. Now, over the last 90 days, these are all up huge percentage points. And you can see right here where he just absolutely skyrocketed. This is the magical game where he had all the strikeouts and the multiple home runs, and then the World Series run. But if we shorten this up to the last 30 days and just look at that data, he's basically been flat. All of these less than 5% or less basically in movement outside of the refractor, which is down almost 18%. So Ohtani just seems to be settling in. Now, the question is, do these prices hold all off season? Do we continue to see a little bit of pullback, or do we start to see a slight climb as we head into the 2026 season? Now, one thing to note with baseball, and I haven't paid super close attention to this, there is a dark cloud over the horizon of a potential work stoppage coming in the near future. So just file that away. Could be something, could be nothing, but it wouldn't be unlike baseball to screw up the momentum that they have with a potential work stoppage. And I believe, don't quote me on this, we would be about a year away from that happening. Not this upcoming season, but the following season would potentially be in trouble. Just note that. That's all I'm saying. Just note that one, because that could be really, really devastating to the baseball card market as a whole. With that is all I have for you boys and girls today. Like I said at the top, hope everyone had a fantastic Thanksgiving. If you haven't, get on out there and dig into some Black Friday / Cyber Monday deals. I know I was actually a little disappointed with Black Friday deals. There were some Lego sets for myself and my wife that I had my eyes on, and none of them popped up that I was looking for. So skunked out on that. We'll see what Cyber Monday brings me tomorrow. That is all I have for you boys and girls. Probably no video on Monday, and then we'll dive back into it later in the week with who knows what the hobby will throw at us this week. Catch you on the next one. Peace.